What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the FGB live stream. I am going solo tonight. I see Mike in the chat. What is going on? I see Trey, the old legend down south. And yeah, man, we'll be going through, got a late start just because we got a West Coast event with Pebble. So excited to kind of walk you through this. We obviously have a big GPP for DraftKings. I didn't check FanDuel. I'll look through that real quick. And we'll try to get some thoughts down on guys for tomorrow. Obviously with the US Open, just general thoughts. Scoring is not going to be incredibly low, so those placement points will probably be pretty valuable. But let's see if we can find some edges. As far as FanDuel, they got a mid-range. It's like $7, $3K to first, 2,200 entrants. Not that big, but certainly can play over there. They don't have placement points, so I did want to point that out. And then they do have a 33 and a 333 for big guys like Mike. So yeah, we'll be sticking primarily to DraftKings. We'll be using our free version of the Showdown model, and it does have the DK pricing put in there. It doesn't have FanDuel just because DK is day-to-day. FanDuel is usually just weekends and then final round. So we'll be going through that. Yeah. Yeah, it has been actually pretty nice. So these guys, it seems like it still kicks off early enough in the morning. I think like maybe 9:45 Eastern, something like that, and then goes on till, what is it, 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, this is not too bad, and the weather over there is pretty good. I guess just a little bit chilly, so no complaints here. Give me just a minute to pull a couple things up, and then we'll get rolling with some Showdown stuff. If you do have any questions though, drop them in the chat. I actually want to try something real quick before we actually get going. I'm tinkering with these polls. Shout out to M. Laura. You can also find him on Twitch. He does a lot of baseball content, NFL during the season, and NBA content. Let's just try this and see if it even shows up. You may have to... I actually can't see it on mine, so maybe it's on... Let's try this real quick. If you guys see a poll, let me know. If not, it does work? Sweet. Let me pull it up just to eyeball it. Need to grant it access? Okay. Well, I don't see it. So as long as you guys can see it, okay, cool. We'll probably use that. I just can't see it on my dashboard. I have to actually have up Twitch, which doesn't really make sense for me to stream myself. So you don't see the poll. It should be in like the bottom right, I think, on Twitch. I don't think if you're watching through Periscope or anything else, it'll work. So, is Chris in the chat? Yeah, Chris, what's up, man? All right, again, I am Red Kachik, go by Drew. I'm a contributor and founder of Fantasy Golf Bag, and now a contributor for RotoGrinders. So you can find my piece this week over there at rotogrinders.com. And of course, all of our tools and content at Fantasy Golf Bag, you can find at fantasygolfbag.com. Alrighty, let's dive into some stuff real quick. So what we're going to be using again is the old Showdown model, but this is the light version, so this is free. So you don't even have to be a member. You can use this every single week. It breaks it down round by round. It includes strokes gained, traditional, and scoring stats. And then it includes the DK salary as well. Hal Tung's name's jacked up, so we'll have to fix that. But yeah, we'll be able to go through all this stuff. I'll refresh it, and let's make sure we get a good fresh one. Question. Quick question, player pool, new to Showdown. Is it optimal to target top 10 guys? It is optimal on weeks like this where scoring probably won't be that low. So let me hop out of this real quick. So scoring won't be that low for the US Open, obviously. We don't see, this won't be like the Byron Nelson where guys can shoot like 7 or 8 under from 30 places back. So yeah, top 10 is going to be pretty valuable this week, or for the final round Showdown. You don't want to be trying to get too many values in the top 10 though. I think if you're in big GPP pools, like we're probably targeting for this show, you're not trying to hit like a $6,800 guy that's in the top 10. I think most of these guys haven't moved, so we can look through the pricing. Actually, it'd probably help if I pulled it back up for you. So yeah, we can look through the pricing here, and like yeah, most of these guys in the top 10 are, so Chesson at 72, Willett at 6,900. A lot of people will be plugging those 2 or 3 guys into their lineups just because they're so cheap and they're already in the top 10. Going back a little bit further, Answer really snuck in there. Wow. Lashley, Woo, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, you do want to target the top 10s and target the top 15s. Look for guys that we're going to talk through that should have bounce back rounds or at least improve upon what they shot today. But you got to be kind of careful where you fall in, because you could, I'm pretty sure it happens every week, so I'm fairly confident you can do it right now. You could build 6 guys with just the top 10 guys right now. That's going to be duplicated probably 150 times, 130 times. So you do want to differentiate, and the idea there is if you do get a cheap guy, and let's just say we go way down the list, we get a guy that we do like, and he shoots, just 2 or 3 under on that course is probably going to be good enough. And then absolutely we want to try to target some more expensive guys we think can play well. So like Brooks, Justin Rose, we'll look through his stats a little bit. Woodland, and then DJ's actually not too far back. So like if we could look to him to target as well and use some of that salary. I think too many people will try to use these values in the top 10. And when they do fit, most people are also going to try to stack like a Brooks. I mean, Brooks is going to be 50% plus tomorrow for good reason. And you can't just have the same guys. So certainly for Showdown, there's an element of avoiding chalk that we'll definitely need to talk about. Zero Woo. Lots of Morikawa. Yeah, Woo played pretty good. This is his first event as a pro, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from North Carolina or Stanford or something like that. Maybe Stanford. All right, so let's cut through a couple things real quick, and then we'll get into specifics, and we'll look at some stats. Again, this is the live tool that is free, and we'll have it broken down. I really like to look at the last round they shot, and then I can kind of couple that with their 1 or 2 previous rounds, if this was like a second round or we'll say a third round showdown, where I can kind of look if they're trending a certain way, or if like, hey, they played so bad round 1, they really played good today. I can make a decision if I think that was a fluke round 1 or today was a fluke, because it can go both ways. So we'll be walking through a little bit of that and then some key stats. So a couple of things we do want to touch on first is like, how do we get our pool situated to start with? So I got a couple images, which you guys probably saw the last time we did this show. We talked to quite a bit. So again, we do have strokes gained, which I like to use, as is most of the people in the industry. But we also have traditional, which I like quite a bit. So green regulation is a big stat for me. It's one that's actually real, particularly in a major. I mean, you could tell today, guys. I mean, they're missing pins by 20 feet, but they're missing the green. So looking at guys that are actually hitting a lot of greens is big for Showdown tomorrow, because that'll give them the most opportunity. So I do like looking at traditional quite a bit. But first things first. So what are we trying to target? Again, this is a chart that we used probably about a month ago from 2018, just because it used the entire season. This is the average strokes gained putts for the top 10 guys, just as a reference. Like you'll see guys today or this week where they gain 2, 3, 4 shots putting in one round. The reason why common consensus is to avoid those is because they're most likely going to have some type of regret. Like they're not going to gain 4 strokes putting again, most likely. They're going to have something towards the mean or the median where they'll be around 1 stroke gain down to 0. So that's why if a guy's stats, ball striking stats don't line up, you got to look to those putting numbers to see if, hey, did he do a ton of this with the putter? And if he did, we probably need to avoid him. If he didn't, or if his ball striking numbers were still pretty good, we can still target a guy that gained 3 strokes. I have no problem with that. You will see through the course of a season, guys are bad putters week to week, just like guys are good putters week to week. But 4 strokes gained putting in one round is generally a rule of thumb to probably take a couple looks at it to make sure his ball striking stats back it up. So again, you can kind of see here, most people, or even the top 10 on the PGA Tour, 0.6 to 0.9 being the highest for Jason Day last year. So that's why those +3s are usually, +3 strokes gained putting are usually red flags. So I got another stat for you. Bottom right corner, what? Oh, for the poll, I need to take that down. My bad. Thanks, Mike. It was just a test. Yeah. It says 2 people voted, Mike. So the poll, it was just a test poll. It says, do you consider course history? And number 2, which was, I use it for over 75% of my research, got 100% of the votes, which was 2 votes. Yeah, you need to grant access. I don't know how Manny gets around it. I think he just shows it or he types it in the poll or into the chat window. We'll have to figure that out. But yeah, we'll try one here in a minute. The other one, yeah. So I went ahead and pulled this up. 2018 putts per round. So like I said, I like using traditional stats as well, talking about green and regulation, but also putting is a big one. So you can see here the average putts per round for the tour average, if you look there at the bottom, is 29.18 last year. So when you get guys that hit, 70% of their greens, 77, 76% of their greens, and they had 31, 32 putts, that's usually a good sign to target them anyways. So like even if their strokes gained putting numbers look like they gained a stroke or something like that, or half a stroke, 31, 32 putts is essentially basically 2 putting every green in regulation. If you can hit the same number of greens the next day, drop 2 or 3 putts, you've bettered your score by 3 or 4 shots most likely. So I do like looking at that. So that's where that number comes from when I talk about 32 putts. As a rough estimate, I mean 30 plus is a decent target, but yeah, you can see 29 was the tour average. So if a guy had 24 putts in a round, yeah, I don't want to be targeting a guy that had 24 putts. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the green and regulation number, because 24 putts probably means you hit 50% of your greens and you got up and down, 100% of the time, and it had to be 1 putt. So I do not love targeting guys. The strokes gained putting is fine. Like, he gained 3 strokes, he made 1 long one, but like 24 putts over a round is generally for me a red flag. So any questions there? Yeah, we'll definitely look through the putting numbers. We'll probably look through the putting numbers first, guys. That'll be best. Let's see if real quick. Nope. Mike not winning 50K. Sorry. Mike has a decent sweat going this weekend, I hope, or hopefully for tomorrow. He's got a couple in the Millie Maker, like the top 200. So there's some chances. 50K is you're talking about for the showdown. So let's go ahead and talk through some numbers real quick, and then let's hit these guys. All right, so kind of like we talked about first, again, we have, right now it's on event total. You can go round by round. So what I want to do first, for sake of the show and general knowledge for Showdown using the tool, I'm going to go to the last round. So that'll be today. So the most recent round, round 3, I have everything filtered. Let's see. So I'm just going to expand this to all. It defaults to 50, so you can expand it. So now we got everybody. So round 3, we're on strokes gained. Disregard the favorites for right now. I'm not going to use those. But let's go ahead and sort on putting. Just to get an idea, I don't generally go for this first, but for point of reference, let's go ahead and hit it. So I'm just going to sort it twice. It does include guys that missed the cut, so that's those blanks.
Turn this into $5,000.
Oh, Mike, $33. Do I need to play that in the showdown? Shout out to Mike. H3 Buddha donated $33, and he says turn this into 5K. I would like to. That'd be nice. Yeah, they did. So I did watch the afternoon, Chris, and those guys. Woodland for sure saved about everything. Rose saved quite a few, and then I think Koepka saved maybe 1 or 2. I know he made that long putt on like 15 or 16. I think it was 15, but yeah, Woodland. I mean, we'll look at it here in a second. Pretty crazy. So let's go ahead. Round 3. Going to sort this by putting, and we get a no name right off the bat, Chandler Eaton, and you can go ahead and kind of accompany this with the Showdown model that we have. You can actually run all of these at once and get your player pool at one time. It makes it really nice and easy there. But yeah, we can go down the list here, and you can see guys that really gained a lot of strokes right off the bat. And we'll just look for guys in the top 15 for now. So you got Danny Willett, gained 2.5. Also gained 2 on approach, so he's probably on our short list for now. I wouldn't X him out. Stinson, 2 strokes putting, 0.2 on approach, so not great. Certainly below his standards. So we'll look through all the top 10 guys, but just for reference, Justin Rose 1.99, so 2 strokes, gained 1.5. So overall, pretty good. Let's go back real quick. And this resorts to the top 10. These guys, Woodland gained 4 strokes putting yesterday. Round 1, he gained 2.5, 2, and Rose gained 5 on round 1. But you can definitely see these guys how they change. Besides Woodland, but like Justin Rose, round 1 gained 5.7 strokes putting. When he goes to round 2, he lost 0.043. And then today, somewhere in the middle, 1.9. So you can definitely see how the putting fluctuates, and you're trying not to chase really good performances with really bad ones. So right now, let's go ahead. My favorite thing to do when looking through the model, we'll take the approach numbers first and go highest to lowest and just get an idea. So like Nate Lashley there, that's pretty good. I would mark him down, so I would favorite him, and then I would look through his traditional stats and try to get an idea of his green regulation. Because sometimes too, which is something we worked at for some of these new stats that you heard about last week, and congrats to Chris again for the 15K. But these guys, like we'll use Bryson as an example because we used him this week as an example. At the Memorial, the final day, he shot 66. He gained like 3 strokes on approach. But if you go back and look through his numbers, one was on a par 5. He hit it to 30 feet, I think 32 feet from 260. So he gained like 1.5 strokes or 1.7 strokes there. And then he did it again on another par 5 from 260 or 270, hit it to like 40 feet or 38 feet, gained another 1.5 strokes. So like literally if you just looked at the approach numbers, it looks great. And when you really dial it down, it's like, oh, he hit 60 or 58% of his greens. It's not that good. So just be careful with the approach. Certainly take a look at traditional just to kind of accompany your research. So like for Lashley, as an example, 71% fairways, 72% greens. It's pretty solid. 30 putts per round for today, 30 putts for the round. Yeah, I think Lashley 6,600 is a good one. So if you guys are playing along at home, Lashley 3.8 strokes approach, 0.2 putting today. That looks pretty good. We can go back to round 2 real quick. Lost strokes putting, 0.5 approach, so not bad, not awful. And then round 1, same thing, so gain 2. So I think after round 3, Lashley gaining 3.8 strokes on approach, hitting 72% of his greens and fairways. I think Lashley's a pretty good spot to target for tomorrow, and he's high enough up in the rankings where he could get placement points. Yeah, nothing really screams out at me that he would be. Let's check his traditional actually for round 2. Yeah, so like he hit less greens there. Really didn't make a ton of putts, 37% scrambling. So he hung in there. And then round 1, 71, 72. So essentially round 1 and round 3 are identical. Yeah. So yeah, I would put Lashley down there. Let's keep it moving for another guy. And I'll try to keep an eye on chat. Leave money on the table for this. How much is too much? I don't know if there's a number that's too much to leave on the table. I haven't actually built any. So what we can do real quick, let's just run through one. I don't have it sharing to the screen, so I apologize. But to answer his question, because that's actually a good topic. I mean, that'll help us learn how to build this for Showdown. Let's just say, we want to start with Brooks. We just talked about Lashley, so I'll add Lashley in. Again, I'm doing this on my phone just for reference. Another cheap guy is Willett, so let's add him. Kuchar, probably a good one there, just off the top of my head. We got 8,300 left. We'll take guess you could take Usti. We'd probably take Answer. Like you can see there, his numbers are pretty bad. Let's take. Yeah, I'm on third round. Let's take DJ. Yeah, DJ looks pretty good. I won't have much salary left. 6,500. So you don't need to leave a ton, man. I wouldn't try to leave any. I would just try to think about how you would build first. If you want to leave up to, we'll say, $1,000, I think that would be plenty. Maybe probably too much by a little bit. So I would probably say anywhere within 600 or 700 would probably be okay. But generally, I don't. There's enough golfers where you're not stuck with like a positional eligibility like in football or basketball for NBA, where there's only like 6 guys to pick from for a slot. There's literally 68 guys we could pick from in every slot, and most of them are going to come from up here. So as long as you realize that, you can certainly venture down the board and take a Fitzpatrick and hope he shoots 68 tomorrow. Will it might be. We'll get to that. So let's keep looking through these guys. So round 3 again, we'll start with approach. We talked about Lashley. You see Woodland there. His approach numbers are looking good still. Fitzpatrick, we talked about. Lowry, Walters, which I played today in Showdown, which did not go very well, which is great to see. His approach numbers were great. And off the tee was bad. Putting was bad. So probably avoid that one. Tiger. Yeah, so I don't think Danny Willett would be the play for me. Let's go ahead and pull him up real quick. You can see just right off the bat, he gained 2 strokes on approach, which is fine. And then he gained 2.5 putting, which is a big number. So if we go ahead and sort on Willett, hop to traditional. Yeah, 26 putts today, 67% of greens. I wouldn't be targeting Willett. He's cheap enough for the placement points, but I feel like in that bigger GPP, that's not what I'd be shooting for. He's going to be higher owned. It's a U.S. Open. If the stats don't point to him having a great round tomorrow, even if he shot even par, he could probably still finish in the top 10. But I think you still want to get a guy that's going to shoot 2-3 under for at least that big one. Who was the top 3? I don't think I have it up. Chris. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have it up. I didn't pull up the weather, but if we can here in just a second. So this will be a good time. Let's go ahead and try this real quick. And then let's build something. Mike's just really all over the place for me. Let's try this out. All right, Mike, tell me if this works. Right now. So, started a poll. Let me know if you can see it. Yeah, Cantley did screw it. Same with Webb and Snedeker, right? Yeah, it works. All right, guys. See if you see that poll. I got to figure out how to do this in the chat somehow. I'm just curious. I know who I want to win because I went way overweight the field and he was under 10%. The issue is I thought Leishman could finish in the top 10. That's not working out very well. All right. That worked for you, Trey. Let's just give this a try real quick. Think. All right, that worked kind of. So Woodland, 75% want Woodland to win, only 25% want Brooks to win. Huh. All right, so back to the main draw. Let's do this thing. All right, so let's go ahead. There's two things I want to do. Like when I get my pool together using the tool, again, start with round 3. I look at the approach number, so I have an idea. Well, Ashley's already in my player pool. That was the first one that jumped out to us. Again, we started with strokes gained, went through approach. Let's hop to traditional. One of my favorite things to do that not many people like to use, or they don't understand the value. They think, especially in a U.S. Open. But let's go ahead and sort on green and regulation for just today. We can go back a little bit and just see, like, so honestly, no one jumps off the page besides, I mean, Koepka is balling out. He's probably going to win. That would be nice. But yeah, usually you'll see a guy, shows you how difficult Pebble is right now for green and regulation. Normally you'll see one guy have like, I think 91% or 87 or 87.7% or something like that for green and regulation. That's usually right off the bat some guy that I want to target. Looking through this, again, Lashley's up there, which is great. We got Cantley, 28 putts. So looking through like the highest putts right here, I think Brooks is fine. Hovland's interesting. Obviously, he won the US Am here last year. And I think he was like 8 under through, I think he was 8 under on the morning round when he won the US Am. So they had to play 36 holes and like he balled out. So Hovland will check his approach numbers. Brooks, I think, is the guy, the most expensive guy. Looking through salary, Brooks stands out quite a bit. Like you can see Justin Rose, 50% greens, he played awful. So unless you think he's going to turn that around, 23 putts, not something I want to hit. Woodland, if he can keep knocking down like 40 footers and chipping in for par, then I guess he'll do it. But I would probably tend to fade that as being in first place. 1-stroke lead off of Rose. He's got a 4-stroke lead on Brooks, but I got to imagine he's going to come back at some point. I mean, he gained 4 strokes putting on Friday. Putted pretty well today, obviously, with chip-in, so I got to imagine that goes the other way. So I wouldn't be playing any Woodland. Tiger's okay. Adam Scott is interesting. 85% fairway, 66% of greens, 30% or 30 putts. And let's see, Fowler, no. Oosthuizen again, T3. So Oosthuizen probably be the guy I would play. In 8,800, he actually might go under owned for what he should. So those look pretty good. So we'll start right there with the green regulation. I'm sorry, with DK salary. We talked about Koepka, Rory, and who was the other one? Oosthuizen, I think. Yeah, we'll talk through Oosthuizen and Scott. So let's go ahead and hop to Hovland. Let's go look at Hovland first before I forget him. So yeah, gained 1.3 strokes on approach, 1.7 off the tee, 3.5 strokes tee to green, and lost 2 strokes putting. So yeah, I would be throwing Victor Hovland into a lineup as well, depending on how many GPPs you make. Yeah, I like that quite a bit. And Lashley, wasn't Lashley 6,900, I think, 6,600. So, I mean, if you want to stack some studs, Lashley and Hovland are probably your bet. If you had to pick one, I would probably lean Hovland, as crazy as that sounds. Like 4 strokes gained on approach. You can see Lashley's last couple rounds were not even close to that high. So Hovland, I actually think Hovland's been pretty consistent. Gained 2 strokes putting round 1, lost 3.5. Round 3, he lost 2. So yeah, Hovland, I would probably ride with Hovland if you got a single bullet, if you need to go down that low. Any prayer for Wallace? We'll take a peek real quick there, Chris. Today, basically netted even, which is kind of funny. He shot even. He lost 1.8 strokes on approach. Gained a stroke off the tee and lost a stroke putting. Gained a stroke around the green. Man, it's even as it can come. Real quick, traditional. Not great. Not great. Not great. Check his round 2 real fast. I mean, he finished strong with an eagle. Like, I could see him, like, losing 2 strokes on approach, 55% of greens is kind of scary. 7,500 though for a guy in top 10 already. I don't hate that, actually, Chris. I can get behind Matt Wallace there. All right, so starting off DK's salary again, we got Koepka. I think he is a good start. 10.4, I would gladly take at T3. His numbers all week have actually been incredible. So I mean, 300 today was probably as bad as he could have shot. I mean, I know he had the 50-foot putt he made for par, but honestly, man, let's just go through it real fast. I mean, Brooks, dude, the guy's studding. Approach 2.5 on round 1. He gained half a stroke. Lost 0.7 off the tee, which honestly, losing strokes off the tee here is not a big deal because most of them are laying back. And if they miss the fairways are somewhat tough to hit. They're getting deducted even more. So off the tee isn't like a huge thing for me if they're losing like 2 strokes, like we saw Lashley in round 1 or 2. That's kind of weird. But yeah, losing half a stroke off the tee is not a big deal. So approach 2.5, round 2, 2.6, and round 3, 1.1. Dude, give me Brooks 10.4. That's easy. He might be popular, but I think unless you're going crazy, that's the way to do it. Chris Chatton. What are you guys doing? All right, let's continue down the list. So Koepka there is for sure a good one. We talked through Adam Scott. We could go look through him real quick. And if you guys do have any names in particular, throw them in here and I'll look through. But I'm kind of building up my pool as we talk through it. So today he gained 0.8 strokes, lost 1.7. Honestly, kind of the norm for him. I wouldn't be shocked if he lost strokes putting every single round. Wow, gained 1.3, 1.5. So we got. And if I'm clicking around too fast, just yell at me, Chris. Green regulation, 72% in round 2. Round 1, 72%. Round 3, 67%. I think Adam Scott, I mean, 9K is a bit expensive, but if you look through his numbers, I mean, 71% fairways, 65, 85. Like, you're not going to be in a lot of trouble if you're hitting that many fairways. 67% greens is probably, like, bad. Like, he probably played bad for the most part, and that's still pretty good. So I don't mind that there. Is Kuchar priced up? What's Kuchar at? 94. So like you kind of got a decision there, I guess, between. I think most people would just pay for Woodland, which is fine. Or I mean, Rose might get some. I think he's a stay away, unless you're building a bunch of lineups. But like single, I think you just go with Brooks. Take the cheap route, hop down to Hovland. And then we got Oosthuizen here. We talked through. Lost 0.1 on approach. Not too concerned. Cantley. So let's look at Cantley. Man, Fleetwood played bad. I'm just eyeballing this for a second. Reevy played good. Oh, man. Wise shot 79 today. Holy crap. Brutal. There's your Snedeker score there, Chris. Lost 4 strokes on approach. Typical. So, all right, let's hit, let's definitely hit Cantley. And I'm curious with the Oosthuizen one, kind of see where he's trending. Spieth is just hanging in there. Wow. Once this refreshes again, let's check out Oosthuizen, or I'm sorry, not Oosthuizen, Cantley. Cantley, 8,400. That's a steal. I mean, he was 10K to start the week. Looking through his rounds, we'll start with round 1. Lost 0.8. Round 2, I think he got it back together a little bit, and he made some putts. Then round 3, 1.67 approach, 1.75 putting. Let's check as a traditional real quick. 72% greens. Wow. 40. That's not good. McDowell. I'll look at McDowell for you, Orange Man. Round 155. So I don't know, man. Cantley, I'm going to look through his scoring real fast. So like today he had 6 birdies. That's impressive. So for showdowns, that's great. Round 2, 5 birdies. So you had and a double, which doesn't really hurt you in showdowns that much besides the placement. So 5 and 6 birdies there, and then basically 1 birdie. So if he's making some putts, man, making some birdies, I think Cantley at 8,400. He's at -1. So if he can just get, what does he need, 4 strokes? Yeah, so 3 strokes right now, and he would be in the top 10. If these guys move back a little bit, like, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Cantley should have been cut. Yeah, Cantley should have been cut. Snedeker, Webb. I know a lot of you guys had Webb. Orange Man, I think, had Webb, but yeah. Rahm's got a bit of momentum. Let's look at McDowell for orange dude. Round 3, so 0.3 approach, 0.6, so 1.5 tee to green. Not too bad. Traditional, 78% of fairways. You like that? 55% of greens. I don't really like that very much. Let's take a peek through round 2. Also 55% of greens, and round 1, 72% of greens. So yeah, I wouldn't be targeting that Orange Man if you need him to play. Like 78 is actually kind of expensive. Plus he like gained 0.3. He's gaining with his irons, but like I said at the top of the show, that could be like 1 iron shot he hit on 17, which is like a ridiculous par 3 to he could have hit it to 6 feet. I didn't watch his last couple holes, so yeah, he might get a lot of airtime. Actually, I mean, he's not the defending U.S. Open, but he won the U.S. Open here at Pebble. He's back in contention. He's had a lot of like storylines around him this week and last week for getting into the British Open, which is going to be back in his hometown or something. So yeah, I mean, he seems like a good dude, but from a showdown perspective, the whole 55% of greens, I mean, he's kind of in line with average, but for a T9 guy, 7,800, he's going to be popular. I would take a pass. Oh, Brooks is taking it down, man. Any other questions in here? If not, I'll go down the list a bit further. Piercy, I see you. Trey. Piercy, 55% today. Wow. Let's take a peek at his strokes gained stats real quick, because that did not jump off the page in a positive way for me. So he lost half a stroke approach, gained 2 strokes around the green, which is a lot. It's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing either. And he lost a stroke putting. I mean, off the tees, lost strokes, approach didn't gain much, and then round 1, I'm guessing he just gained. So he must have stuck it on some holes. So yeah, again, 7,900 for him. Depending on how many lineups you're building, he wouldn't be in a single entry. Like if I was building 5 lineups, I don't think I would play Scott Piercy in that. I feel like I can get other value. Just looking at the guys around him, we'll go down the list here for 7,800 and 7,900. And I got on green or regulation. I don't want that. It's going to refresh. Oh. So strokes gained again. DK, we are going to run down to 78. So like Reevy. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, Reevy's probably the guy that I would go to. I know people talked about him, at least in our chat earlier in the week, and I couldn't pull the trigger on it because he has had terrible, terrible form. But we know his West Coast narratives, and obviously putting on POA. I mean, I think it was last year during the West Coast swing, the guy had finished like top 3 in 4 straight weeks, or 3 out of 4 weeks he finished in the top 3. Just crazy. So yeah, Reeve probably isn't the worst. Any around here that really jump out? Lowry, So he's so far back, but again, I feel like you could get a guy that shoots, 3, 4, 5 under maybe early. And I have a hard time not seeing at least 4 under if they tee off early enough, getting the numbers or getting that score posted, and that's enough for a GPP. I have to imagine that'll have it. Let's take a peek at Lowry. Keimer. I did look at Keimer for today's showdown, and Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's the other one that looks interesting. So Lowry, Fitzpatrick, real quick. So obviously today he gained 2.5 strokes. He shot 1 under and gained strokes putting. Honestly, I'm confused where he didn't. He gained 2.5 strokes. So traditional, pretty solid. Not jumping off the page, but not bad. 92% fairways, 77% greens yesterday. And then round 1, 64% fairways, 50% greens. Sorry. And let's look through his strokes gained real quick. Yeah, lost 2 strokes approach on Thursday. Gained 3 strokes approach Friday. 2.5 strokes approach. I think Lowry's interesting. 7,400 there. Again, a guy, if he gets, 4 under and the afternoon gets nasty with the POA, they have some tough pins, a little bit of wind that picks up. I think that's not a terrible option. The other one there was Fitzpatrick, which I think is actually a really good play for tomorrow. Looking through his numbers. So the 55% is kind of bad, but if you look through his strokes gained numbers through the first couple of rounds, you'll see that they've all been pretty consistent, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. 1.4 approach, 1 putting. Lost half a stroke approach Friday. Let's see this. 50%. Dang, man. Yeah, I gotta imagine Fitzpatrick has a bounce back of some kind. He's right there too. Like 85% of fairways, 55% of greens is not good, but somehow he gained of strokes on approach. So there's 2 sides of that coin. One is he didn't hit a ton of greens. He was either being overly aggressive, missing pins by 15, 25 feet, but missing the green, so you get deducted there. But his irons, hitting 85% of your fairways, that's going to set you up pretty nice. Yeah, and overall he's been going the right direction. So yeah, I think Fitzpatrick's okay. We can look through the wind though real quick, man. Let me hop to this and I'll pull up this wind finder and we can just look at the weather. We can hop back and look at a couple players if you want. Let me pull it up real quick. I got it. It's gonna be off the. I think it'll work. We're gonna have to navigate a map real quick, guys. I'm pretty sure Pebble is down. Is it Carmel by the Sea? I think it's right here. I think that's Pebble. Yeah. So that's Pebble. We got 2 of them here. I'm gonna take, just because the wind's blowing this way, let's take this. Yeah, because I don't think that one's gonna be that predictive or that accurate for where the course is situated. Let's take this one. Let's take this one. If I can click it once and then click it again. Nick's not in the chat, so he's not gonna get on me. We're gonna go to the super forecast. And besides being cold, I don't think there'll be much going on tomorrow. Nothing. Yeah, nothing. So 55 degrees throughout the day, basically. So kind of chilly. Wind switches, and I wouldn't get too technical with you on the wind direction is going to affect guys one way or another, but I don't think there's anything wrong with this weather. Besides the course maybe being a little bit more gettable in the AM in general, most golf courses are a little bit more calm and soft in the morning. The greens are better because they're rolled. They're probably double cut and double roll in the morning. So they'll be extremely smooth, extremely fast. And then as the day progresses, guys will get a little bit more bumpy. So again, you can't really stack the AM because those guys are basically in last. But you could certainly try to hit like the mid-late morning if there's a value guy. And like Hovland, like I don't know when Hovland's tee time is, but that would be some guy you could lean to. But I don't think, Orange Man, I don't think trying to hit an AM wave for tomorrow is the ticket, just because placement points matter. It's not like today or yesterday where you're just trying to get the lowest scores possible. You kind of have to predict the end of the leaderboard for the Sunday showdown. So that's the one little tweak, which I think is fun. I actually think it's really fun to try to predict, not just, oh, well, this guy played good today, he's going to continue playing good. But I want to see, I think Woodland's going to fall back. I think Rose won't do much. If anything, he'll fall back or stay the same. But I think Koepka's been playing so good, he'll move up. That's my one. Go down the list and see a Oosthuizen or a Kuchar. Try to get a Reeve in there. Like, I think it's really fun for Sunday because you're trying to kind of predict the final leaderboard. I see you there, Riser. So you're asking for Ches. Yeah, we talked through Ches a bit, and I can pull him up again. We'll look through his strokes gained real fast once more. So today he gained 1.6 on approach, 1 stroke putting. Yesterday he gained about 3 strokes on approach, lost a stroke, just over a stroke putting. And then round 1, he gained 2 strokes on approach, 0.5 putting. Like, the dude's been super consistent. We can look through his traditional, which haven't been the best, but they're not that bad either. We just talked through kind of like how proximity matters this week. But yeah, round 2, 71%, 72%. Those are 2 key metrics for me for Showdown. And then round 1, 64, 72. So today was the only bad day, and I didn't watch his whole round to know if from what I watched his round, but it looked like he played good. So I don't know if he hit that shot on 18, maybe that gained a bunch of strokes, so like a couple of extra strokes. And when I say a couple of strokes, I mean like 0.4. But yeah, green regulation 50%, still not that concerning when you look through his rounds. And of course, you can look through event total. And he's gained 6 strokes on approach, which has got to be up there for the whole event. He's second behind Emiliano and Grillo. So, you could see where the strokes are coming from. Like, besides Grillo, which we all know sucks at putting, still doesn't make me hesitate from rostering him for a week long. But you got Reeve there, Woodland, Brooks, Lashley. You got Hideki kind of there, Stinson, Piercy, like all the guys you kind of expect when your approach numbers are that good. So, again, this is a free tool from Fantasy Golf Bag. You can use this. The custom model is part of the premium package, which allows you to weight all of these stats and build out your model and your player pool kind of exactly how you want it immediately. You don't have to sort these one by one. But for the sake of the video, I definitely wanted to use this just so that I can go one by one through all the stats and not just spit out my model. We can look at Rory. Rory's a tough one to peg. He seems like he's certainly streaky. Like, he's one of the streakier guys out there. We'll start with the strokes gain numbers, but like today, you could tell he didn't play good. So you could take that. Is he going to bounce back tomorrow, which he probably will. I'll let this refresh again. Take a drink of water. We can look through Ben on and X too, Trey. Oh, man. So, yeah, like I was saying, like Rory, we'll just start through round 1. Gain 2 strokes putting, 0.1 on approach. Nothing putting in round 2. Gain 1.1 on approach. So a little bit better. Gained a little bit off the tee. So, again, off the tee this week isn't a pro or a con for me. For the strokes gain numbers. Fairways, it is. And then round 3, I could just tell by his how he was acting. Like he didn't feel great. Like he obviously didn't play good. And there's really nothing in his numbers that's going to tell me one way or another that he's on the verge of playing really good. So I really don't have a problem with Rory. He's 6. He's in 6th. He's 5 shots back. So he's certainly at 10-6 could be your guy. You could probably stack him with Koepka, to be honest. There's enough expensive guys. That's really not a bad option. Yeah, I mean, like Rory overall has been pretty solid, like all week. Averaging for the event 66% of fairways, 2/3 of fairways, and 65% greens. Like, it's really not that bad. I think when we pulled up Brooks, it was on another level. So keep that in mind. Bryson. Mike, you gonna play Bryson? Tied 48th? Don't play Bryson. Don't play Bryson. Mike's going to play Bryson, and somehow he'll shoot 600 tomorrow and win the whole GPP. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to tell. He's 48th place. So even if this was a regular showdown, his stats probably don't look the best, starting with round 3 going backwards. But with placement points needed, 7,600, he's certainly cheaper. But man, I don't think you need it. I mean, unless you're building 50 lineups, I just don't see how you would need a guy that's trending the other direction. Yeah, him and Brooks. Yeah, Brooks, dude. So Doozy, I think you were here at the very beginning, but I think Riser was asking about Ches, but so he might have missed it. But man, if you look through Brooks's numbers, I mean, we could look through strokes gained too, but like just traditional, like he should be winning this thing by 3 or 4 shots right now. Like 85% of fairways every single round, 50% round 1. I'm not worried about that. 67% of greens, 83% of greens, 78% of greens. And you look through his strokes gained numbers, and he's tee to green 3.7, 4.8, 3.1. Like the dude, I mean, he's not leading he's probably leading tee to green. No, Ricky is. Stupid Ricky. What's Brooks at? Oh, I'm in round 1. That's why. So tee to green for the event, Brooks is number 1. Yeah. Brooks, then Ches. So, man. Brooks. Yeah, what's funny, though, Miley Virus. Keimer's stats have actually, like, stats coming into this event, it's been the opposite. Like, his iron game has been bad, like, mediocre to poor, and his putting's been good. So if you go look through his putting, so like this week, it's been like the opposite. So he gained 2.5 strokes on approach, 1.7 on approach, lost 4 strokes putting. And then today, he was actually a showdown candidate for me. Like, he was in my pool, and he really did nothing with it. Like, he gained on approach again and 0.6 putting. But the issue is, for a Sunday versus today, 41st place, I feel like from +2 to get to -4, -3 is probably unrealistic. But then you would need other guys to fall back. And I just don't see, with the way the leaderboard is, I mean, let's just say he shoots 4 under. Like, that's a great score for him. If he shoots 4 under and gets to -2, he's 17th place right now. He would not kind of need more guys to fall backwards to get enough bonus. I mean, top 20 is not going to do enough for me. So he's certainly been playing well. It's just I wish he was in a better position for tomorrow. That's what I would say to that. I still like guys like Hovland, Leishman. I'm fine going back to. We didn't look through Furyk and Hatton. I know Fitzpatrick was another guy we liked, but Furyk and Hatton actually we can peek at. Any other questions? Let's take a peek through, what was it? Hatton, Furyk. Wow. Really jacked it up. Furyk. So I'll just look through event total real quick. So gained 3.8 putting. So round by round. Lost 2 strokes on approach. gained 2.5 strokes, 0.3 strokes. Like, he's been pretty inconsistent, unfortunately, and I got a lot of exposure. Hatton on the other side, gained 2.8 on approach, lost 2 strokes putting, and then today gained 1.6 and gained 1.8. Like, Hatton's actually okay. I know he was complaining about the Poa greens, but like, he's at least at even. If he goes out and shoots 4 under and gets to 4 under, you got a better chance of getting inside the top 15, top 10, maybe, if the leaders fall back. It just depends. Yeah, I think most of these guys, like, just looking through the salary, you can tell you kind of, I mean, hate to say it, I mean, Tiger's numbers today actually look pretty good, but I feel like he's too far back to get enough bang for 9,600. Like, he's so expensive. But going down the list, you just start with a Rory Brooks. We talked through Ches, who's super cheap. I think he was 7,700. And then at the bottom, the one guy that I liked was Victor Hovland, 6,900. So Willett was kind of in the middle there, didn't really love him. But yeah, I think it's pretty simple just going off the salaries. You can kind of see these guys that are like just too far back for the price. Xander. You guys asked about Xander. I'll look through him. The 130 PGA Q for the FGWC. You playing in that? And been on. Sorry, Trey. I didn't even see that one. So Xander today, 1.5 off the tee, lost 0.3 on approach. Wow, he's lost strokes on approach 2 straight rounds, and then hasn't done much. Let's look through his traditional. His strokes gain stats for Xander look not good. 65%, 55. It's not awful, but I just feel like he's struggling a little bit with his irons. Like, you're losing strokes in 2 out of 3 rounds with your irons already. That's not a good sign. 57% greens, 57% fairways, 55% greens. It's not good. I mean, we just compared that to Brooks and did 61% of greens. So like for the event, he's averaging under 60% green regulation. So I would probably exclude Xander. Again, if you're able to build multiple lineups, a lot of these guys that are close to the top 10 are worth throwing in some lineups just because they could finish in the top 5 if they get hot. And the guys are all world-class players, but just speaking strictly from lineup construction and these stats, 9,200 for a guy that's, I mean, he's basically net even for approach this week when you got guys like Brooks who have gained 6-7 strokes on approach, and he's averaging under 60% greens is not something I want to try to target. Byung Hoon on. Wow, yeah. So this is a very good. I mean, kudos Trey. So talking through, like, when we first talked through this real quick, we'll hop back to it. So we talked through the putts per round, right? We said the tour average was 29. The lowest score, the lowest putts per round average last year, Phil Mickelson at 27 putts. So that's why we try to target guys that are, 30 putts or more. Generally, like if they're 27, 26, 25 under, or 26, 25 and under, it's generally not something you want to try to target. So with that being said, let's take a peek at Ben On's stats. 44% greens today, 23 putts. He's a terrible putter long term. You can go look up those stats anywhere, or Fantasy Jesus' rolling stats that we have on the website. Still, he shot 3 under today. I think he is an easy pass for me. Most people will probably go to him, I guess. 6,500 is super cheap. He's T14, I think people go to. Generally, his irons are better. Like, if you look through his first 2 days, that's kind of what I would be expecting to see. But for him to hit 44% of greens and then 23 putts today, his strokes gained numbers, he lost 1.6 on approach, gained 2 strokes putting. Like, I mean, it's one day, one final round showdown T14, a guy that did that today is something that I would easily pass. No thanks. Like, honestly, I kind of wish he wasn't like T4 or something, because then he would be like 60% owned. It'd be a fun fade, really fun fade. Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it too, Trey. Honestly, like with Ben on, the putting thing is weird. Like 23 putts, 44% of greens, and he shot 3 under. I mean, like, great job keeping it together. But there's only like a round after that is generally not like, oh, he kept the putter hot and then he hit 67% of the greens and he shot 65 or 64. Like, that doesn't happen. Generally, it's going to be, oh, he hit 2 more greens and he didn't putt as well and he shot 3 over or 2 over. That's what I would expect off of that. Count it. 2 over for Benny on. Haotong. Okay, let's take a peek at Haotong. His name's all jacked up, so we don't have a salary on him. You have to tell me what his salary is, or I can look it up on my phone. Approach point. I'm sorry, round 2. In Chesson. I got you. We'll do a couple more, and then we'll just finish with some questions, and we'll get you guys out of here. Just because it's getting a little bit late for me to build some line at Panda Red. I'm sure he's 9999 GR. Yeah, Pandas are great. Yeah, Haotong's borderline, so he's even for the event. T27. He's 0.7 approach, lost 1.2. Yesterday, gained 2 strokes, 0.3 approach. Round 1, gained 2 strokes, gained 1 stroke putting. Yeah, Haotong's interesting. Let's peek at his traditional stats real quick. Not good. Wow, yesterday was actually decent. Yeah, Haotong's okay. I wouldn't say I love him. I don't know what his price, 7,200. So I would probably go down to Hovland, to be honest. Like, I think Hovland's sneaky, and the dude's good. I mean, Hovland's going to be on the tour. He has history here at Pebble. I don't know how many people know that, but yeah, Hovland to me, I would feel probably better about that opportunity to play him, hopefully at lower ownership. I'm not sure what the common perception of him is. I'm battling H3 Buddha. Yeah. Yeah, it's best past my bedtime too. East Coast for West Coast tournament sucks, except for the late golf is nice. What'd you have? Chesson? All right, Chesson. And then if you guys have any more, we'll hit them real quick. If not, I'll get you guys out of here. But I think it's pretty straightforward with some of these guys up top. I mean, Brooks seems like a no-brainer. Rory is interesting. And then looking at like Ches, Fitzpatrick, and Hovland, maybe Lashley if you want to get down to 6,600. Lashley was another guy that looked interesting. Chesson. So, God, this guy, what is his deal? The dude has missed like 6 straight cuts. I can already tell you I'm just going to be out on Chesson, but I'll walk through it for you. And it's probably just a personal bias. So he's 7,100. He's T7, sitting good. Round 1, he gained 2.3 strokes around the green, gained 1.3 strokes putting, lost a stroke or basically was net neutral on approach, minus 0.2, minus 0.02. Going to round 2, he lost 1.2 strokes approach. He did lose a stroke around the green, so that at least counters round 1, but then he gained 5 strokes putting. So that's not ideal. And then today, a little bit better with the approaches, gained 0.3, a little bit more normal with the putting, and he shot 1 under. I'll look through the traditional real quick while this thing refreshes once more. And his traditional stats are enough to bait you in, but I think I'll just pass. I've been Chesson too many times. The traditional actually look good. Like, if this was anybody else, so I'll fully admit to a bias against Chesson Hadley, but I will say that the strokes gained stats don't look good. I mean, even event total, he's gained 7 strokes for the event putting, so that's not something you want to chase. And then when I like to look at the previous round for what you're going into, like, he was okay, not great. So, Usti? All right, Orange Man. Usti's not a name. Oosthuizen is a name. So yeah, T3 Oosthuizen. Lost 0.1 approach, gained 1.7 putting. Going back a couple rounds, he lost 0.2 approach, 2 strokes gained putting. In round 1, he gained 4 strokes total. Tee to green, he gained 4 strokes. So 2.8, 2.2. And then let's see. Let's look at tradition real quick. And then I'll pull up, so like the thing I dumped in our chat yesterday for the projections, I'll go run that real quick and I'll hop them in here for you guys just to eyeball. Wow. So he hit 100% of his fairways today. His irons have been bad. So that's another one. Like you can see, like it kind of goes hand in hand, but his irons were bad. So 25 putts in round 1, 27 putts in round 2, 61% greens both days. And then round 3, again, 61 putts, 29 putts about normal, and he shot 1 under, which is to be expected. I mean, 100% fairways though is impressive, but the greens, I mean, you got to be closer to hitting 2/3 of your greens, more than 2/3 of your greens with 100% fairways. Of course, Trey, no problem, man. Yeah, let me run this real quick. I can pop it in here. I got both computers running. I was hoping to have some type of Pebble Beach live cam, but they disabled it for the U.S. Open week. All right, real quick. So if I go here, wish I had music to play real quick for you guys while I run this. It literally take maybe a minute and a half, maybe. All right, so I'm gonna paste. All right, here we go. I think that worked. One second. You can sing instead. Here, just a little bit of... I actually don't know if that pulls in. Can you hear the music? Or is it not set up for this scene? Nah. I assume not. Sorry. All right, let me rerun it one time. I got an error because of Mr. Haltong's name. But I'll fix it right here. All right, I think I got it. All right, this should work. All right. Yeah, so take him out. So I just want guys that are in position. The way it runs, it'll actually be guys for regular showdowns, but we obviously can't have those. So I'll cap it at +1 for reference. All right, so your top plays are going to be, we didn't look at him though, actually. We can probably peek at him. It's Victor Hovland, actually, number 1. Brooks Koepka, number 2. Lashley, number 3. Adam Scott, Billy Horschel, Rory McIlroy, Chesson Hadley, Cantley, Lowry, and Answer. So those are your top 10, or however many I just listed. 10. We didn't look at Horschel, so I'm going to peek at him though. Now it's cool running this just because you get an idea of guys maybe you missed. And like T33, like he's slightly out of position. Like I don't want to have to go down that far for the final round in this type of event. Like if this was the freaking, what I use, the Desert Classic or the Byron Nelson, and he could shoot literally 64 and somehow jump 20 spots, heck yeah, I'll play some Billy Horschel. But I mean, we're realistically targeting someone to shoot 3 under, maybe 4 under. So yeah, Horschel. We'll look through his strokes gained first, and then this will be the last guy, unless you guys drop one more guy, and then I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll get you out of here. So Horschel, so he lost 0.1 approach, gained 0.2. Round 2, gained 1 approach, 1.5 putting. Mediocre. Gained 0.2 in round 1 on approach, and lost 2 strokes putting. And then if we look through traditional, so overall strokes gain is, I mean, T33 is kind of what you expect from that. You look at the traditional stats, it's actually better than whoever we just pulled up, Hadley or somebody, or Oosthuizen. So 66% greens, 50% greens, 67% greens. So yeah, I probably wouldn't target him. I don't think you need it. I'd still go Hovland up there. But it is interesting that it spits out Horschel. So yeah, that would be I think that would be it, guys. Yeah, I think it's obvious he's better than DJ. I mean, DJ even left his own coach because he coached Brooks and is tired of not being as good as Brooks. So yeah, I would say so. All right, guys. Any last questions? If not, I'll get you out of here. Again, appreciate you tuning into the Fantasy Golf Bag live stream. This was a fun little hour. I'm glad we could do it. I'm sorry it's so late for the East Coasters just because of the West Coast tournament. But appreciate you guys hanging in there. The GPP is, let's see if it's close to being full. Actually got to enter this half lineup I just made. Can't let that go to waste. Had to pivot a couple guys after we talked about it. Perfect. I think. Yep, got it. All right, so it is 21. Also, I'm missing. So it's half full. 26,000 and 47,000. So you guys got time. You can hop in there. Woo, Hovland, Lashley build. That is sick up top. Yeah. I mean, we didn't look at. I mean, I'm fine with Lashley. We didn't really look at Woo. I mean, he's basically just out of college. But so I don't know how popular he's. 6,300 though. That's T17. Just shoot even. Maybe he can move up if guys move backwards. So, all right, guys. I'll go ahead and get out of here. I got to go build some lineups for this thing. Thanks, Miley Virus. Appreciate it, guys. So we'll catch you for Monday for the podcast this upcoming week. And, of course, this is a free tool that I was showing you on fantasygolfbag.com. You can check it out. You don't even need to be a logged-in member. It's actually free for anybody. And then the custom model, of course, we highly recommend. It's easy to run your own model and get your player pool without having me click through all these things. You can basically run it all at once and get your player pool. Takes like 3 seconds to run and then you're done. Like, you can manipulate it however you want. You can run a little bit more wide open if you want some stragglers in there. So highly encourage that. But again, guys, really appreciate it. We'll see you later. Good luck tomorrow. Hopefully Mike hits the million, and hope you guys have some fun with some showdowns. See ya.